Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to week 7 of our Getting Started series. Today's topic is going to be about small and big success, doing events, big or small. So let's jump right in today's training. Last week we talked about, or the last video we talked about smaller events or create and take events. And today we're going to talk about smaller and larger, just events where you set up and sell your products, maybe not necessarily a demo. So let's define what we're kind of talking about today, and we'll be covering both of them in a little bit of detail. The first type of event I'm going to talk about is small events. These are events that are like craft and vendor fairs, right? So you're setting up with a whole bunch of other people. You probably just have one table, and you're there to get the word out about Couture. And then the larger event are kind of like the big expos, whether it be a crafting expo or just a larger kind of event, maybe a flea market where there's a lot more people and you probably have a lot more space to choose from. Let's dive into the two types of events and see how they're similar and how they differ from each other just a little bit. Smaller craft fairs, those are super popular right now, and you're going to start seeing lots more of those coming up in the future as we hit this fall season. These are a little bit cheaper to go to, and their cost is probably about $50 or under. In fact, we recommend that you probably don't want to spend more than $50 to do one of these smaller types of events because you're going to have a little bit of space. Your focus for those kinds of events are going to be on getting bookings and, of course, probably some sales that you can sell, just cash and carry kind of items. Not going to be able to have a lot of things just because you have probably that one table. So you want to set up your table to be super cute and things in levels on top of your table. So using crates and other types of things that you can put on top of the table to create height will be really, really good. Of course, it's really wise to try to use some of the space under the table to store some extra things out of the way. You're not going to be able to put up all the Chalkology paste on the table. So put some of the extras down below. It also creates that urgency that you don't have very much of it if some people want some things off of the table. The focus here is also going to be on a demonstration. So if you can have the space, I'd set up an easel, one of those very nice art easels, put up one of our chalkboards and do demonstrations. Now make sure you're staying within your space that you're allotted as a vendor, but keeping this off the table is really helpful because you can show the step-by-step, and all day long, you're going to demonstrate. You're going to put up a chalk transfer. You're going to show how simple and easy it is. You're going to pull it off. You're going to wipe it down so people understand that they can reuse the product over and over, and then you're going to do it all over again. Now think about using something that's going to transfer very well and doesn't have a lot of little detail to it, right? And you want to make sure that you're just focusing one or maybe two colors. You don't want to make it overly complicated. You want to show the process really simple. For planning purposes at a small event, you're going to want to use things that you already have on hand. So no need to order excess inventory. If you want to have a few extra things you need to order, that's great. But we recommend not trying to carry everything because, again, your focus is really going to be on bookings and getting people to host their own create and take event. There's going to be various people coming through all day that might not be all that crafty, right? Depending on what type of event you're in, you're going to want to spark interest in people and, of course, work on getting their info and trying to get that booking. You're going to want to practice that setup before you even go to the event, right? So I think it's really important that before you go to an event, you set up your table at home and practice what that setup's going to be. What product can you take? How are you going to store it? Where is that display board that you're going to play with going to be set up so that you're following the rules, staying within, but also showing a great demonstration at the same time. Now let's flip to the opposite side. Let's look at large events or some of the big expos that people are doing. The cost of these are a lot more expensive. In fact, they're really high. So you want to make sure that the crowd that the company is bringing in is going to meet the expectation of the cost that you're going to be delving out. When we talked about small events, you're going to only fork out, say, $20 to $40, maybe upwards to $50, depending on what the event is. Your cost for that event is fairly minimal. And if you get one booking from that event, you've really made up your cost for that day. On the other hand, if you're forking out $500, $600 up to even $1,000 for a 10 by 10 booth, you want to make sure that the crowd is going to be a good target market for you, and that they're really working on bringing the numbers of people in that they promise. Are they advertising? What does all of that look like? So that's really important. Your focus at these larger events are going to be on sales specific. A lot of people go to these events because they want cash and carry items. So you're going to want to focus on selling products that you have on hand. We'll dive into what to carry in a little bit. You're also going to want to focus on recruiting right then and there, because people are often looking for a business opportunity or a way to make extra money when they're at some of these kinds of events. And then the last thing is lead generation. So you're going to want to be getting all of the contact information of all those thousands of people that are coming through. That's really, really important, because we're going to put that lead into work in a few minutes. You can also focus, of course, on getting bookings, but the big focus here is going to be on sales and recruiting. So slightly different focus for the large event. Your setup is going to be a little bit larger, right? Most expos give you about a 10 by 10 space, and you can purchase more. You're probably going to be able to have 2 tables. You're going to want to make your booth look very, very inviting. I've seen some great booths already, so you want to make it look artsy and inviting. So you want that booth flow to be open. I can't tell you how many times I've been to big events where they have the table right up front and you can't even get into the booth really easily. So in people's brains, as they're walking down the aisle, if they're carrying bags and other product with them, and they don't feel like they can get into your booth, they're going to pass you by. So I really focus on creating a U shape so that your booth allows people to walk in and see the product. You're going to have an interactive booth here, whereas the small event is you demonstrating. You want to try to get their hands on the product. So at a large event, you can have a couple of easels set up, or a half of a table used with little chalkboards where you're going to show them how easy it is. Again, we want to use a simple transfer, like maybe the hello, or something that just doesn't need a lot of detail. You're going to show them and let them do the product themselves, or the project themselves. So you're going to have them wipe it on. You're going to show how easy the cleanup is as well. This is really, really important, because people tend to buy what they can try. We talked about this in the previous training at the Create and Take. Whatever products you're using, they're typically going to want to purchase. So make sure that you're showing the benefits of the squeegee, the chalk paste they're going to need, and the transfers, and why our boards are just high quality for them. Planning purposes for this large event is you're going to need a lot more time, right? You're going to need time to order the product, to price the product so people know what the price is when they come into the booth. And you're going to want to make sure that you can inventory all that before you go. So you're going to need a month or so out so that you make sure you have things on hand ready to go, so that you have enough selection. Again, you're not going to overstock and try to carry it all. You're going to carry specific things, and we'll dive into that in a second. The same thing I said for a small event, a little bit harder. Find a spot, maybe in your garage, tape out a 10 by 10 space with painter's tape on the floor, and practice the setup. You'll find that'll save you a lot of time. Often it takes people a long time to set up their booth, but if you have a plan and you know where everything is going to go before you show up, it'll keep things really, really simple. Now let's talk about how you're going to find events, because it is that time of the year where people are going to start looking for events they want to participate in, and lots of people are going to start advertising events. So let's find the best ways to do this. One of the best ways is to ask your friends and family, or even customers, if they know about some events. You can check your local newspaper, maybe the community calendars on some of your newspaper websites or Facebook pages. You can also look on sites like Craigslist, Event Lister, or craftlister.com. And of course, you can check with your local Chamber of Commerce or Tourism authority. And sometimes it just takes a call to a local church or school, because they're always having fundraising events. I think a good idea is once a month is go right to Google and type the name of your town in. So you can type the name of your town and type craft fair, or type the name of your town and type vendor fair, and see what pops up. Don't forget to search for other areas outside of just the town that you live in. So if you live near a big metropolis, you may want to use that name in your search as well. Now, one of the most popular things right now are Facebook groups dedicated to this service already. In fact, I belong to about 4 or 5 of them just for the area that I live in. They're a great opportunity to have people advertise that they're looking for crafters or vendors for their event. Of course, it's kind of first come, first serve, but we know Couture is fairly new, and so you won't have much competition. So start looking in those Facebook groups and make it a task maybe once a week to see what events are available as people start adding their events to it, to make sure that you can grab the spot. And one of the best things you can do is actually ask other vendors at the events that you're at. Most people that are vendoring often are going to be vendoring at other events. So it's really good to network with some of those other vendors to find out at other events that they may be participating in that might be open for you as well. For each of the events, you want to make sure you're reading the fine print so you know what's included with your space or your booth. Do you need to bring extra tables? Do they provide them at all? Are you going to need electricity of any sort? Do you need to be closer to the bathroom to wipe the transfers down, or the kitchen? How are you going to clean the boards if you're going to be demoing all day? Do you need a trash can? Are they going to provide it? Are you going to need some kind of grid wall? Maybe even in a small area, you could put grid wall behind the table to create some height. In a large expo, you usually can fit 2 tables in a 10 by 10 booth, but sometimes you can fit 3 if you do a U shape, but depending, most of the places are only going to give you 1 table. You're going to want to make sure to know when you're allowed to arrive, when the setup times are, and what time you're allowed to take down. Along with that, all the other info that we just went over. This is really, really important. I suggest printing some of that material out and keeping a binder going of all of the activities and vendor or expos that you're doing, so that when it's getting closer to an event, you can pull out your file or folder and read through all of the things that are required for that event. Remember, not all events are created equal, so you'll want to do some research. Some events are cheaper than others, so you want to make sure that your investment is worth your time. Now, that's how to find events. Let's dive into what you're going to do actually at the event. Whether you're doing a small event or a large event, our focus is pretty much the same. We knew that for small events, you're working on bookings and some sales, and the large events, you're focusing mainly on sales and recruiting. So let's talk about how your behavior is going to go. The worst thing you can do is sit at your table and look at your phone all day long. Just go to any vendor event and you'll see it happening left and right. You'll want to make sure you're standing for most of the time. Now, if there's a lull, you can take a little break, but engage with people. Smile as people are walking by. Have a question ready to ask them as they're walking by. This starts the engagement products. Have you heard of our new company called Couture? It's a great question to ask because they'll either say yes or no, and you can continue the conversation and draw them in to find out more about the product. If you're able to do a demo at an expo, would you like to try making something fun really fast? And it's free. So you can have them play with something right there. You want to always be demonstrating the product throughout the entire day. This way, other vendors are even paying attention if there is a slow lull in the crowd walking by. Every event should have some kind of special. Whether it's a sales special, a recruiting special, you're going to create a special that you're using just for that event. This is really important. While we at Chalk Central provide you with great specials every month, we want you to come up with your own specials to create the excitement and that last minute purchase that you want them to take. You're going to want to have some kind of giveaway going, and this is where you're going to use for that lead generation form. If possible, you don't really want to give away product, but rather a free workshop for them and 3 of their friends. Let me say that again. A lot of giveaways focus on just giving away like something free. Well, with our product, that's a little difficult because they kind of need a chalkboard, a transfer, and a chalk. Well, that's definitely a great giveaway. It doesn't really help if the person's not interested or doesn't really know how to use the product. So our suggestion is give away a free workshop or a one-on-one or a workshop with just them and 3 of their friends where everybody gets to come and make something using the supplies that you already have, and they walk away with something finished. Maybe not, of course, one of our nice chalkboards, but something that you've created smaller. This way, you're getting more people to come in to play with the product, which will potentially turn into them wanting to bring more people to the workshop or them purchasing more product. If you just give something away, there's no guarantee that the person's going to use the product or want to buy more because they really didn't get the full experience. So we're always going to suggest give away something fun that requires them to show up to something, even if it's just a one-on-one with you. Make sure you're schmoozing with those other fellow vendors. People in direct sales are friends of the direct sales market. That doesn't mean you have to go buy something from everybody in the entire floor, but that means you're friendly and known as the friendly booth that everyone wants to visit. You're going to make connections with those other vendors because people in direct sales like to do other direct sales business. So this is a great opportunity to make a sale and also to potentially get new customers. Now, if you've noticed, we're specifically designing some transfers for some other direct sales company. You'll see a few of them out now that we've designed, but no, we'll probably be designing more in the future. This is a great way to schmooze with that other vendor, go to the table and show them how you can help them create something to make their table stand out. This is super important. You're going to help them create something, or they can buy the materials to spruce up their booth. At the same time, if they're doing that, that's free advertising for you. Because people are going to, of course, say, where did you get this cute chalkboard? And how did you get it designed so perfectly? And of course, then they're going to be able to pass along your information. So don't forget to follow up and meet all of those other vendors. At each of the events, you're going to want to make sure you have your calendar ready and open and have dates already marked so that you can book create and takes, parties, or other events right there ready to go. You're going to want to put your info into every bag that you're filling. So as people purchase, make sure you're putting a flyer or something in with your information. Now, business cards are great to have on hand, but don't get into the habit of just giving your business card out like candy, because people are there collecting lots of other people's info. So while it's okay to hand out your business card, it's really important that you're collecting their information as well. So here's my information. Would you fill out our door prize drawing that we have? So we just talked about that. So make sure you're collecting their info. That lead generation is super important. In terms of product, don't try to carry everything we have. Focus on what is popular that we sell. So you don't have to carry all the colors of chalk paste. Some people might not really want the brown, right, on a black chalkboard. So focus on the colors that you know are popular, or you know what's selling with your regular customers. You'll also want to bundle products to make it easier for your shoppers. This is really important. So they can get maybe a small metal chalkboard, a transfer, and 2 chalk paste for a certain price. Consider bundling the products because it takes the guesswork out of what the customer needs to purchase in order to get started. And then, of course, remember to stock whatever you are displaying or having them demonstrate. If you're using a fund transfer and they feel successful with it, typically the customer's going to want to purchase that transfer as well. So always stock things that you're going to demonstrate throughout the day. If it's a multiple day event, try using a different transfer the second day or maybe the second half of the day, so that you're mixing up for people that are still walking around or people that come back to shop the floor once again. Now the event's over and you've had great success. The follow-up work is just as important. You've collected all of those emails. Now it's time to send them a personal email and thank them for stopping by your booth. You can announce your winner on the email that you're sending out to them. This way they know that you did, in fact, give it away to them. You can also add all of their emails to your monthly newsletter so that you're sending out what the specials are that Couture has and what events that you are going to be doing as well. And here's a little tip that we just talked about for the smaller and larger events. If you're at a very small event and you didn't have a lot of people come by, then everybody becomes a winner. This is why we suggest not just giving away product, but giving away that free one-on-one or class that they're allowed to show up to without any cost. So you could be doing a make and take or create and take for them and their friends, and they get to do it for free while their friends will have to pay. So this is a great way. You'll contact everyone individually to tell them they're a winner. So this works great if you only have about 5 or 6 lead forms that you get. In larger events where you're getting 20 plus lead forms or even at expos, you're definitely just want to announce the 1 or 2 winners of the free project or event that they get to come to. The important part here is follow up, follow up, follow up. Just because you have a lead form doesn't mean they're going to bite on the first email. I can't tell you how many times I have people give up because they feel like people aren't responding. If we look at what data shows us, the data in the industry shows that people usually don't bite something until they've heard about it 12 times. So it's super important to engage with the people, sending them a text, a message, giving them a personal phone call, and letting them know what's going on. After the event, you're also going to want to inventory everything that you sold to see what did sell, so you know what you need to stock for the next event. Evaluate everything and write down notes. Remember that folder I told you to keep everything about that event? Well, I would suggest using the paper right on the back and write all your notes down. If that event comes back next year, you'll already know what worked and didn't work at that event. Also, if the event was kind of a flop and you don't feel like it was worth your time, it will be a reminder not to do it again the next year. So always write those notes down. Now, some people are working at very large events and they need their team to help you, or you need to work with other designers, just because some of those bigger expo events, you're going to need 3 or 4 working together. So that's a great idea to share the load and to give other people a break as well while that booth is going on, because 9 hours on your feet over a couple of days is kind of a lot, right? But before you go into the event, you want to make sure that it's fair all around. And I've seen people do it a lot of ways. And I've also seen people ruin relationships because they didn't go in with a plan before the event, even if you are good friends, even if you are using people from your own team. If 3 people in the booth are recruiting and people recruit during the hour you went to go grab some lunch, it's really not fair that they get the recruits and you didn't, because everybody's forking out the same amount of time and money to participate. So it's really important to sit down and think of the questions that are going to need to be answered up front. I don't personally think it's a good idea to do it's first come, first serve, nor do I think it's a good idea to hand out just your business card. If you're doing business cards, then I suggest having a pile of all of them. And if you're talking to someone, then you hand them all the cards. While they have the relationship with you, this keeps it from being competitive within the booth. You don't want bad juju inside that booth, because everybody needs to be focused on the same thing. When you know that recruiting is being shared around the booth, you're going to work just as hard or harder to make sure that you're getting your turn coming up. And it's a team or group effort. So make sure you have that plan for all the things that we've been covering. Write it down so that everyone is on the same page with it. And it might be a good idea to consider getting a cash register for something like this so you can ring in the products. While you can price product individually with each person and ring it up, that still creates some of the competition. So a good idea is maybe going up with a plan of what products you're going to carry and then generically price them. If everybody brings 2 of the same transfer and you sell 3 of the transfers, then you know the rest of the transfers are evenly divided by the people that are left. This is super important to keep things fair and working well and making sure that everyone's having a great experience. Now, if you're watching this video on our training page, fantastic, super. I want you to go to Facebook. If you're watching this video as part of our Facebook series, I want you to share your pictures on the thread right here. If you're doing some booths, head over to Facebook, add some of the pictures. We've seen some great photos already of booths that you've been setting up or displays at small vendor events. We'd love for you to share your pictures so that the other designers can get the idea of how to set up their booth. So please, over the next week, share some of those great ideas. This wraps up today's training, and next week we'll be wrapping up our Getting Started series, and we'll be diving into a topic everybody's been waiting for. It's that on how to get the most out of social media. I know you'll all be looking forward to that. In the meantime, have a great week with your business. We can't wait to see you at a future event or back here online. Have a good day.